Hello everyone, and thank you all for coming today, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty, family, friends, in person and online, of course, and the cohort that we've gathered to celebrate here today. I must admit that I've written and rewritten this address several times, as I find it can be difficult to describe a year without collapsing experiences into broad strokes, especially when that year was spent on attaining this Master's in Public Policy and Human Development. As we now stand on the threshold between our momentous accomplishments in this program and the places where they'll take us, it's essential to recognize each of the small steps that culminated into this very moment. You all did just as advised in the introduction days of this program and took this year bird by bird. It is through your consistent action and unwavering determination that you all have arrived here. More than anything, I hope that you all can see your accomplishments as proof that even when your efforts felt too insignificant to make a difference, your work was never in vain. When I arrived in Maastricht with a wallet full of US dollars, a cell phone that couldn't work in the EU, and several copies of train tickets due to missing just a few along the way, it was difficult for me to imagine how in the world I could complete, much less succeed, in an intensive master's program when I couldn't find the grocery store. My struggle to acclimate to this new environment was compounded as I took one of my first small steps in UNU merit, which very literally turned into a fall down a flight of stairs in the queue. Yes, I fell down the stairs. With the world blurring as I tumbled down, I hoped that this wasn't a sign of how I would fare in the MPP, a single misstep leading to a catastrophically embarrassing fall. As I've come to know all of you in this cohort, I realized that I wasn't alone with these concerns, that many of you too had concerns about how your year would turn out. Similar to my overall experience, my worries subsided when I was met at the bottom with people who helped me up and brushed me off. I imagine that my colleagues can relate to this as well, as we all found solace in the camaraderie developed by our 10-minute fresh air breaks and our trips to Spar. The Google Forms responses I collected from my colleagues demonstrated overwhelmingly that the people and the relationships were among the greatest takeaways in this program. And though I now walk with much more trepidation on those stairs, a few more unexpected changes came from my fall in the queue, but I want to save those explanations for the end. Now, bringing the focus more directly to our program, I am proud to have almost graduated from the MPP's newest specialization, Global Governance for Development. But what does that actually mean, global governance? In plain terms, it handles the intricate web of dynamics between governments, civil society, and the private sector with the intent of fostering collective action to address the problems that we, as a planet, face. Global governance also implies an ability of countries to agree on something. As many of you know, I am from the United States, and as many more may know, we aren't exactly expert on agreements. In all seriousness, we are living in a time where uncertainty can preclude our view, and a common ground can seem harder to find. But just as you all forged ahead despite obstacles laid by Stata, train strikes, and a Dutch winter, we must learn to embrace uncertainty and disagreement. The state of our current world is something that we did not have a hand in creating, but will, whether or not we like it, have a responsibility to inherit. So we must ground ourselves in the small victories and the incremental gains we make on our respective paths. We don't have the same luxury of time to be impeded by bitterness and division. We only have the time to act. And as we've been shown through this Masters, a shifted global paradigm starts with just taking the first step. As I mentioned earlier, my fall in the queue brought with it more than a funny story. Though I can't attest to any causality, I do know that in the weeks following my less than graceful descent, the stairs in the building were adorned with new handrails and additional measures to prevent any such falls in the future. My fall not only impacted myself, but also the building in which it took place. For me, this demonstrated that we can never predict how our actions will ripple out from us, especially in policymaking. I feel that we have come to expect that the policy changes we seek will only come about through grand or sweeping motions. More often, it comes about through mundane, consistent action. Today we are gathered to celebrate each of your momentous achievements, and they are truly something to be proud of. As Victor mentioned in the beginning of the year, you don't earn 2 degrees in 1 year without a bit of hard work. So I find it's also important that we celebrate the small actions that slowly and without knowing it led you all here. So let us carry forward into the next chapters of our lives the lessons learned, relationships forged, and the emphasis on consistent, intentional actions that we all have accumulated this year. I am profoundly grateful to have worked amongst you all, and I implore you all to continue asking your questions, continue chasing the seemingly impossible, and continue to redefine what policy making can mean for our world. Thank you.